of our COVID-19 series of content, and we are focusing this week on pivoting manufacturing to PPE, which is protective PPE, protective.
Personal
help me out here.
protective.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. PPE, personal protective equipment. So that when you see that acronym, you now know what that is, because literally you're going to be seeing it everywhere, not just in all of our coverage this week. So welcome, Lyndi Bell from Chaco. It is wonderful to have you here. You joined me on a panel for Snow Sports Industries of America, SIA, as well as Outdoor Industry of America, OIA, earlier this week on Tuesday. And it's great to have you here. I was looking forward to interviewing you all in your own show so that we could go deeper into the great work that you and your team at Chaco are doing around this initiative. So welcome.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, we're super excited to have you here. So in the interest of being efficient and protecting everybody's time, I would love it if you could just drop right into an introduction of Chaco and to yourself. And then we'll get into our conversation here today.
Yeah, so I have been with Chaco for about 3 years now. I was with the parent company prior to that for 2 additional years. I sort of took a non-traditional path, if you will, into corporate America. I started in the nonprofit sector. My background and what I studied was actually politics and international relations, but was really drawn to the outdoor industry in particular. So now working at Chaco is kind of a dream job. I do experiential marketing. So I'm an extrovert, and it's like the best possible case for an extrovert is to work in experiential marketing. So it's been really great. Although this particular crisis has been an interesting challenge for us.
We might be having a little bit of audio difficulty here. Can you hear me okay? Okay, bear with us, everybody. Chuck, it looks like Lyndi is having a little bit of a glitch on her side. So we're going to go ahead and stop this Facebook Live and start it again in a couple minutes. Oh, wait, I think she's coming back. She's back. All right. I think that the intrawebs are overwhelmed right now. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. If that happens again, everybody, we are going to probably just re-record this because we want to make sure that we're offering the best use of your time right now. So, but she's back. And I think that was a great, tee up of your background. Can you give us a quick overview about what you're spearheading at Chaco with with the actual mobile solution that you have turned into a PPE solution? Can you give us a little bit of background on that?
Absolutely. So the one important thing to know about Chaco is that we have a factory here in Michigan, and it does repairs and makes custom sandals. And we've spent the better part of the last year developing a mobile factory. It is a school bus that we converted into a mini factory of sorts that can go around and bring that experience to our consumers. So being able to do repairs on site, being able to make custom sandals on site. And we were ready to launch at South by Southwest. The bus was the day before it was going to leave and head there, is when South by Southwest got canceled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we, in a matter of a week, we came up with sort of 4 different pivot plans, best case to worst case. And we moved through all 4 of those pivot plans within a matter of days as this crisis got worse and worse. And it immediately became aware to us that this was going to have a larger impact than we had initially thought. It was going to be more than just a few canceled events. So we looked at a larger pivot, and it really came together over the course of a weekend, which is shutting our doors, putting it in park, and doing nothing just didn't really relate to who we are as a brand or our consumer. Our consumers are doers, they're makers, they're active, they're attuned to what's happening in politics in the world. So for us to just not do anything seemed very, it just didn't seem right for us. And so our head of marketing had this idea like, hey, we have equipment, we have sewing machines, we have a fully trained staff, could we just start making masks? Masks seemed like the most obvious need and highest need at that time. And so over the course of the weekend, we got the various approvals and we started producing masks in our Michigan factory here, but then also with our field crew in Portland, where the bus is located right now.
Awesome. And so literally 4 days, you went through 4 different scenarios. And then let's talk about the steps that you took when you committed to going the route of PPE, because you've been a big champion in the panel. And prior to that, as Outdoor Industry Association conducted the research interviews with you for that panel, you were very, very clear in terms of how you talked about progress over perfection, but also starting hyper local and then growing from there. And I think that's really important for our audience today, people who are listening, who are interested in similarly activating their brands to create positive change at this time.
Absolutely. When we started this, we did not have, we've iterated the design, we've changed how we do our production. As product people, we spend a year to 2 years getting something just right and just perfect. And I think the thing to remember is that this is a crisis. This is not a normal situation, and therefore we can't follow the normal processes. Any brand that I have talked to about getting up and running, I have just advised them to just start wherever you are. We sort of tried to go the super formal official route right out of the gate, contacted the CDC, and immediately realized, like, okay, they're not there yet. This was a month ago. And so then we just went super local. We have friends that are doctors and nurses and work at local hospitals, and said, who can we reach out to there? And there was an immediate and very obvious need right within our community. And so we just started there. And from there, we have sort of connected with other people in the state of Michigan, improved our designs, and even as recent as this past week, now started a partnership with Bissell, which is a local vacuum cleaner brand, and working on some prototypes with them for better filtration for the hospitals locally. So really just starting very small and continuing even 3 weeks later into production, still iterating.
Tell me this, Lyndi, from the time that you started this venture to now, and let's say like 1 is kind of grassroots, I'm picking up the phone, and 5 is I feel like I have a great network. Where has it gone over the past 3 weeks? Like maybe week 1 was like totally hand built, and now where are you? And because that's ultimately where new people are going to get into the current with you. Yes,
absolutely. It was definitely a 1 or a 0.5 to start this out. YouTube videos on how to make masks, and as scrappy as you can possibly be. You do not have to be an expert. I'm in marketing. I can't sew a thing. But we knew it was something, we knew it was the right thing to do. And we knew that we had something to offer because we had the equipment and we had the trained people. So we just started at 0 and have been building from there. And it's been great to see how many other brands and companies have jumped in. As soon as we put out the word that we were going to be doing this, people have started reaching out. And now I feel like we have a really strong community of people that we can sort of go to and connect with, of doctors that can give us sort of feedback on what we're making, of other brands that might have material knowledge that we can share. And also, I mean, I have to say that we have a parent company. And so our parent company, Wolverine Worldwide, has also been amazing and super supportive of us pivoting from making sandals to making masks. And they've been a great resource for us as well, not only from, the legal and distribution side of things, but also in sourcing. Our sister brand Merrill has donated materials. We are using shoelaces from some other brands to do the ties on the mask. So we couldn't have done it without them either. But from there, our network has really built into the larger, specifically the outdoor industry.
Mm-hmm. Has there been a little tail wagging the dog happening with Chaco and Wolverine?
Being not as familiar with that analogy, I'm not sure.
Meaning like a small heirloom brand, if you will, like Chaco, yes. Positively creating action with the mothership of Wolverine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we might have just had more visibility to it a little quicker, because when we pivoted, it was before the shelter in place here in Michigan. So we just kind of were a few steps up ahead and sort of saying, hey, we see this coming, we had been planning to go to South by and it looks like it's coming towards us. Let's think ahead here because it's likely we could either choose to do this or we're going to be told to shut down anyways.
Right. Okay. And that's an important point before we get on to my next question. Making this pivot did enable Chaco to stay open as a necessary business, correct? Or were you already designated that prior?
No, that was hugely important. And that was another thing that we were thinking about is, we're a really small team. Chaco's a really small team. And so we're close with everyone that works at our factory. Our factory is, a couple of blocks away from where our other offices are. And so we were not only concerned about how we could contribute during this time, but what was going to happen to our hourly employees that, they're hourly employees, but they've been a part of our brand for longer than I have. And so that was really important. And then also our field crew, we had committed hours to them. And a lot of them are, seasonal workers. They ski, they do like ski training and stuff in the winter. And then they have these like summer jobs. And we just didn't feel right about just canceling and closing our doors. We felt like we could have some purpose and we could keep jobs going during this time too.
That's awesome. And on that note, I imagine that not only obviously would morale improve from this, but I believe that like a larger mission emerges through this. And it's something that I think is not going to go away after the COVID-19 crisis. So have you seen kind of the seeds of that set in with your workforce?
Absolutely. I think, a crisis like this can make you feel incredibly out of control. Things are just happening to your business and you just can't do anything about it. And so I think on the very smallest level, it's given us some sense of purpose in this very strange time and some sense of control over a situation that is incredibly out of our control. I think the other thing is, and what I love and why I was drawn to Chaco is that we've had a history of always sort of doing the right thing and participating in the larger conversation. It's who our consumer is, it's what they care about, and we're pretty attuned to that. And so we see this as just an extension of, who we are. We hope that we're going to be able to go back to making shoes again and back to sort of what we were doing before. That is our goal. It's not that we plan on making PPE, forever, but just as things change, we will continue to change with them. And I think the brands that have been able to adapt and change quickly and sort of be attuned to what's happening have come out a little bit ahead. And so I think that's important to realize as our environment and community continues to change, is that we just need to be responding as these things happen. I'm also hoping, I think, we've been a huge supporter of protecting our wild places, our national parks, American rivers, not having access to those things right now and being forced to stay inside. My hope would be that we would also come out of this with new, fresh eyes on how important those spaces and places are for us and why we need to continue to our conservation efforts.
I love that. And so I love so much about what you just said. Number one, I see it as a really important part of the recovery and healing of our entire country. And it's going to put, what we've seen even on the bike side of our business with just people pulling out whatever bike they have or buying new price point level products so that they can get outside as a family, or at least, encourage their kids to get outside, whatever it is. Anybody who has the ability to get out and walk their, path or be in their town, they're seeing people on bikes as one example. And that's what we're really hoping can remain. And what you just said, I think underpins that opportunity. It's like highlighting our country's public lands, the great resources we have, but then making that bridge very clear through what we're going through right now around the healing properties of that and just how important that is for our well-being in general. I think that's going to really, really help our conservation efforts. And I think we could probably help steer that conversation and call to action through great brands like Chaco, frankly, and through our industry organizations, because ultimately that's where the audiences are, whether it's B2B or B2C. So super exciting. And that definitely leads into my next question, which is what channels have you seen that have been like, from a collaboration standpoint, how have you been collaborating? Have you been using social media for that? Any interesting channels in that regard?
Yeah, I would say we're like a lot of brands right now. We don't have a lot of marketing spend or things we can put behind this. But we are very grateful to have a really strong consumer base, our Chaco Nation. So they've been incredibly responsive through social media and helping get the word out. Instagram has been a great platform for us. And then within the larger community, I would say the Outdoor Industry Association has been phenomenal in stepping in and helping connect a lot of things that were kind of happening scattered about. Supply Connector, which was mentioned on the panel, has been a great resource. Brands that have been reaching out to me, I've been sort of connecting them there because there's a lot of people that either have materials or have manufacturing resources and just need to get that connection. So that's been great. And as the sort of people and brands continue to jump in, that just continues to grow and be a more useful resource as well.
And it's crazy how fast that's happening, isn't it?
Incredibly fast. It's been amazing to see.
I love this phrase, and I have no idea who said it, but it actually had to do with like, changes in channels and different reasons why we founded the podcast. And it was something like things go slowly, meaning they stay the same until one day they don't anymore. And I really think that this period of our lives in this pandemic and now ensuing recession is like that time. And that's forced modernization, and nothing is going to be more powerful for our businesses to better serve our audiences than this forced modernization. And what you and your team at Chaco are leading, you're showing us the way with your Chaco Nation, and also with your ability to be nimble and pivot, but then also plug in and really make this more of a community effort. Like perhaps in the past, you wouldn't have thought to reach out to Bissell, or perhaps there might be a brand in your world that you might have thought as a competitor. That's definitely now a collaborative partner. And I just think all of that is going to help us from a service standpoint in terms of like serving our end consumers. So what you're showing us is a fantastic North Star guiding light. And I just want to applaud all of the work you're doing, because I know it's probably literally like 7 days a week right now. But just
absolutely. But it's good work. I'm grateful to have it.
And the demand is there, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about that before we wrap up today.
Absolutely. And I would say that this is one thing that hopefully came across on the panel we were talking on as well. There are a couple of ways you can go about this converting to PPE. And one is sort of like FDA approval, high level, looking for contracts, et cetera. And the other way is just start making something because the need is there. And we just started making hand sewn masks with patterns that we had seen online or that had been shared. And immediately, I mean, the daily requests we are getting for masks for hundreds of thousands, and our output is just not even going to touch it, which is why the Supply Connector and other having other people jump in, it's been great to be able to refer people elsewhere where they might be able to help, because we're barely meeting the need in our backyard. And I think something to remember is that not only do our hospital workers need additional masks, but for every mask we can provide for another essential worker. So the people working in food service, the grocery stores, we donated a lot of our supply this week to homeless shelters. There was a huge need there, and they were just not getting any. Those are masks that are then the N95 level masks are being freed up for the hospitals. So there's an incredible need, and I just encourage anyone that's even considering it to please consider how they can help.
And so that's supplyconnector.org. And where can we learn more about, is it Instagram that would be the best place for us to follow everything that Chaco is leading right now?
Yeah, we're posting updates. I think they're actually.
Uh-oh, we had another little glitch, but we're almost done, everyone. Let's give it a couple seconds. We will put the, obviously connect to Facebook and Instagram for Chaco on here, just in case Lyndi does not come back. But it took her a few seconds last time. There she is. All right.
Hi.
I was talking about
it real quickly again. Yeah. Chacos.com, Instagram, all along. And then also our factory is making masks right now, but we are still taking custom orders. And our consumer base has been really supportive of still saying, hey, I'm going to support you guys. I'm going to make a custom order, even though I know I won't get it for a few months. So that's another way you can show us support.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much again. I feel fortunate that we were able to put this show together. I know you're super busy, and what you have brought to the Channel Mastery podcast today is going to definitely elevate, I think, just not only the awareness, but the inspiration for everybody to chip in and do their part. I want to thank the Outdoor Industry Association and Snow Sports Industries Association for sponsoring the panel earlier this week. Everything can be found at their websites, including great resources on COVID-19. That's snowsports.org and outdoorindustry.org. Lyndi just shared the Chaco resources. And I also want to point you to verdepr.com/pivot for a overview on how to communicate what you're doing with a PPE pivot in your business. Thank you so much again for your time today. And I truly wish you the best of luck with all the great work you're doing over there.
Thank you so much. We super appreciate it.
All right.